What is up, gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode on the channel. On today's episode, I want to share with you the psychology of procrastination. If we can understand our enemy and we can understand the enemy that is procrastination, we can overcome it, we can be better because of it, and ultimately, we can find the tools and create the life that we want. What is procrastination? And just a caveat, if you are procrastinating right now by watching this episode and not doing the things that you need to do, get off this episode right now. Click off YouTube. Go do the things that you need to do. I'm gonna wait for a second. Done? Okay. The rest of the people that are here, most likely you're not procrastinators, but maybe you've procrastinated at some point or another. I know that I struggle with this, even though I like to consider myself someone that is as disciplined as I like to be, but of course we can always get better. What is procrastination? How do we overcome it? Well, that's what I'm going to be discussing in today's episode. Let's start off by answering, why do we procrastinate? What is the idea of procrastination? In short, it is putting off the things that we should do today for later, and the things that we should do are ultimately meant to keep us surviving and meant to keep us thriving. When we procrastinate, we don't do the things that we should, we put them off to later, and it's almost like this psychological battle that we have in our minds. Why do we procrastinate? Well, I think that we procrastinate because it's a fear avoidance mechanism. What is on the other side of procrastination? Most likely, it's hard work. It's something that you're trying to avoid. It's a little bit of pain and it's a little bit of sort of a trial. We procrastinate because we want to avoid feeling that pain. Our bodies and our minds are going to keep us doing the things that are going to minimize as much pain as possible. And this is, let's just say in very short, it's a survival mechanism. It's our way of avoiding danger at all costs. And sure, in the past, avoiding danger was a fundamental way that we'd stay alive. But the modern version of ourselves is faced with a much different environment than that of our forefathers. We're faced with modern challenges of which we actually have to actively overcome specific bouts of challenges, specific bouts of pain in order to do the things that we must in order to achieve the things that we want. So procrastination acts as a crutch. It acts as a way for us to avoid the pain, and we believe that by avoiding the pain, we're living a happier or an easier life. An easier life is not necessarily a better life. And this is what procrastinating is getting you or is keeping you from. It's the gateway that is holding you back from living a better life and a life in which you're more fulfilled and doing the things that you need to do to become the person that you need to be. One key thing that I noticed, especially within myself and within others, is that procrastination comes from a perfectionist ideology. When we procrastinate, we tell ourselves that there is no point in starting such an endeavor because if we can't achieve perfection in what we're trying to do, there's no point in even trying. It's not that we believe in ourselves so much that we only accept perfectionism. What I believe is that this is a cop-out. By only accepting to go into something with the expectation of it being perfect and all scenarios being perfect and all outcomes being perfect, we almost immediately set ourselves up for failure. We give ourselves a way to cop out, a way to not do the work when we need to do the work. It gives us an out when things just get a little bit difficult because we tell ourselves that the goal was so lofty and the goal was so grand that we were never going to get there anyway, and it's okay if we didn't try because even if we did, we'd never get there. And this is what a perfectionist mindset does to you. Most people believe that perfectionism is something to be celebrated. On the contrary, I believe perfectionism is a weakness. It's a weakness in and of itself because perfection is an illusion. It never exists and never will. We can never achieve perfection. There's always another milestone to reach. There's always another mountain to climb. So what are the consequences of procrastination? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Ultimately, and in my humble opinion, procrastination is the worst thing you can do as you build up your self-confidence. Look at the daily actions you take as a contract between you and yourself. When you wake up in the morning, you tell yourself, today, I'm going to get XYZ done. You sign a contract with yourself that commits to getting these things done. You are relying on yourself to do the actions that are necessary in order to progress your life. Only you in this scenario have the ability to actually go ahead and perform these actions. No one is going to get up and make that phone call for you. No one is going to get up and write that spreadsheet for you. No one is going to write that email. No one is going to go out and make that introduction. It's only going to be you, not even your parents, and not even the people that love you the most. It's only going to be you. So you promised yourself that you're going to do these things in order to progress your life. When you procrastinate, you're not hurting anyone as much as you're hurting yourself, because this is you falling short on your obligations to yourself. And the one thing that I've noticed, if you cannot trust yourself to do the things that you've promised yourself, then who can trust you? You're an untrustworthy person. If the one person that you should care about the most, you cannot trust, then who can you trust? And this is what procrastination does. It makes you look at yourself in the mirror as someone that is unreliable, incapable. It gives you a lack of belief in what your possibilities are. And as you reinforce procrastination over and over and over again, that mental idea in your mind of, I need to get this done, becomes diminished. You no longer believe in the words that you say, whether it's externally or internally. You no longer give them weight. And this is the biggest detriment of procrastination. It lessens the value of your word. When your word is your bond, and that bond can be broken so easily, well, procrastination is the side effect. So how does procrastination affect your day-to-day life? I've already outlined to you that your day-to-day in the grand scheme of your life is a manifestation of all of these small actions, the medium actions, and the long-term actions that you take throughout your life. When you procrastinate and you put a contract with yourself to do actions XYZ, and you don't actually go ahead and perform these actions, and day in, day out, you avoid taking on the responsibility and actually doing the work necessary to achieve the things that you've set out to achieve, well, you actually end up not achieving anything, both in your career and in your personal life. When you consistently do not take the actions to advance your life forward, you'll find yourself in 20 years, in 30 years, in 60 years, having achieved nothing because you've allowed procrastination to overcome you consistently. You've allowed yourself to become a slave to your fears and your anxieties towards working hard and putting yourselves in uncomfortable situations. And what I believe to be one of the most detrimental side effects of procrastination is the effect that it has not only on you, but on the people around you. It's seldom and very rare that we exist in this life in a vacuum, in and of ourselves, with no one else to rely on us. You make promises to people all around you on a daily basis, whether it's a promise to your mother, whether it's a promise to your teammate, whether it's a promise to someone that you love. You promise them that you will do XYZ, not because you want to please them, but because you believe that it is your gift to give. But if you're unable to come through on that promise, whether it's delivering to a client on time, or whether it's making your bed correctly, or whether it's showing up to that interview, when you do that, you not only affect yourself, but you lessen people's belief in you. By doing this, you also weaken your relationships wherever they may be and whatever nature they may be from. And this is the biggest impact that procrastination has outside of yourself. So we've looked at the doomsday scenario and we looked at the worst possible case of what might happen if you continue to procrastinate. Well, what can we do to overcome procrastination? How can we actively take steps towards becoming better and less procrastinative versions of ourselves? I believe the number one step is to just take any step forward. Any step is better than no step. I know that on a day-to-day basis, when I get into the office, I just need to get going. I just need to do something. I need to take the first step. I need to take the first step, and then I'll need to take the second step, and the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. By the end of the day, I've overcome everything that I need to overcome simply by taking that first step. But if you never take that first step, if you put up that mental barrier, if you never take that leap, if you never have faith in what you're able to achieve, well, you find yourself at step number 0. And this is where procrastination hits the hardest. The second thing that you can do is to establish or to chop up your day into small, manageable chunks. What I like to do when I'm working is I like to use the Pomodoro technique. Most likely you guys will have heard of this technique before, but it's as simple as splitting up your work into 4 core chunks of 25 minutes. Between each of these 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. After that 4 Pomodoro cycle, you can take a longer 15-minute break, whether it's to meditate, whether it's to have lunch, or just to catch up with friends. Why do you want to do this? I find that when you work for an uninterrupted amount of time, at any time you can be completely interrupted or distracted because there's no specific methodology for how you're working and how you're splitting up your time. Sure, you could start off by working for 45 minutes, 60 minutes. I've been there and I've done that. You can have a great start to your day. Then something happens. You get a phone call. Someone comes visits you. You just get distracted. And you find yourself completely being thrown off track with no reminder to get you back on track. The Pomodoro technique gives you a definitive way to structure your day and to force yourself to stick into these segments. And it just gives you the peace of mind to know that if you just follow the structure, by the end of the day, you'll have at least a more productive day than 99% of the population. The last thing that I would recommend when it comes to overcoming procrastination is to just get mini wins under your belt. Momentum is what you need to build when you have nothing. The car that's trying to get going, it's trying to accelerate from 0 to 100, puts in much more effort than the car that's trying to accelerate from 100 to 200 kilometers. And why is that? It's the idea of momentum. When you have no momentum, you need to just get the pedal going. So I like to achieve small wins in the beginning of my day And there's a very well-known Stoic saying that says, a day well begun is half done. And this is because of the idea that starting off your day positively leads to an overall better and more efficient and just a better quality of day. Simply by just doing that first step and getting a small win under your belt, you build up the momentum towards the larger part of your day.